Tinigable. And that's mit now Gabadalido Gabi, do take with that to be Sitaskoya in our swearing in ceremonies. And ask Mom and Albert Ross, Gaimi Stamagua, and thank you again to Abel and Senator Cook that had to leave here. Thank you for helping us out here with the inaugurations we're having here today. Like, thank everybody for coming out here and supporting us during this special day for us, for the newly elected council and the re-elected council and chief. I didn't really prepare anything here I was just going to come and thank everybody, but after listening to all the speeches that are said here from my colleagues, my new colleagues and my old colleagues, I just figured I'd say a few other things and tell a few stories about being a leader, I guess. And I guess, again, Nanaskamun, I'm really honored to be here to be re-elected as a councillor for Ronge Indian Band. And people know that we've gone through a tough election here, especially in Ronge area. There was a lot of negativity going around in our community. And that was really hard. It's one of the hardest elections I've gone through since I've been here, and I've been here for 9 years. And this last election was, there was a lot of bitter people out there. It was kind of hard going knocking on doors because of all the false accusations going on, and all the false accusations going on from other people running, and it was really tough to go out there. And I know for me, I had a really tough time here this election because of I lost my mother-in-law the first week. I was off work, and then after that I lost my sister Elaine Mahoney a week after that. So the first 2 weeks I was supporting my family. I didn't really get out to knock on doors or campaign, and it was a tough time during this election time. So I'd just like to thank everybody for their support during that tough time that we've gone through. It's the whole community that gone through that tough time with the election, and also with losing family members in our communities, not just Ronge here, but all the other communities that within Ronge Band. So I just wanted to mention that, and I wanted to thank my nominator, Tom Sanderson's not here today, and also my seconder, Arnold Moraski's in the back, my brother Arnold here for being my seconder. Thank you Arnie for supporting me, and also Tom Sanderson. And yeah, it's really, this is really a tough position to be in. It's really rewarding too when things turn out. Not everything turns out to your liking sometimes when it comes to being a leader. There's a lot of good rewarding times, and there's a lot of disappointing times where you don't get your way when you're advocating for the band, when you seem to be constantly battling with federal government and the provincial government to try and speak up for your First Nation in our community. But it's you kind of let that go by and pass by you as you learn that as you become a leader, that you can't always win all your battles, and that's something that's what makes a good leader, is you always have to take the good with the bad. And I know we're a really progressive band. I know we work really hard, our staff members work really hard in our schools, all our ICFS, health, everywhere throughout the whole band. We have a real, the leaders had mentioned before, my colleagues had mentioned before, we have a really good, progressive, strong working band members that work for us in our offices and in our schools. And it's something that we will continue to support as leaders, support our staff. And I kind of felt sorry for our staff during the election, because all the negativity that was going around in our communities. And our staff members are hardest working staff members. They're the hardest working band members we ever had. And I'd like to acknowledge them for all the hard work they do, because it wasn't just putting down chief and council, it was putting down our staff members and our kids in our schools and everything. And that was really hard to go through. But the people spoke, people voted, people believed in us, and that's the main thing. That's why we're here today, celebrating the positive things that happen in our community, and also the hard-working band members we have in our community. So it showed during this election that the good always win, and I'm really proud to be a councillor for Ronge Indian Band and be a leader for Ronge Indian Band. But I would like to, since Larry started this off with all these jokes, I guess I'll tell one story. It's not really a joke, it's a true story. And I've told this before, but I always like telling it because it's funny, and I'm a believer in the Lord too. I'm a lay reader, so I'm a believer in the Lord, and I always will be. Anyway, there's this real good friend of mine. He was an elder, come to church every Sunday, he was always there supporting us at wake services. And a really respected man, and I really miss this man. And his name was Jarman. His name was Simon Charles, but his nickname was Jarman. He used to live in Jackpine. Anyway, we're in council this time, internal council, and we're having difficulties with our emergency funds, with one of the emergency funds programs. One of the programs we have with the Ronge Indian Band, and emergency funds goes towards our elders. Our bingo is pretty well generates all our emergency funds from the Kidano bingo. So one time I had a few elders approached me and was wondering why we had wake services during. Or not wake, bingos during wake services. And then some of them approached me and see if I could approach the internal council and see if we could maybe at least have one night cancellation of bingo while the wake services were going on. And I said, well, I'll bring it to the table and see what we can do, but like I mentioned before, the bingo hall is a really big contributor to our emergency services when people go down south, when we have sick loved ones down south, and that's where the funds come from. And the councillors had a legitimate concern there too, saying that, if we shut bingos down, that's going to eliminate a lot of the funds that go down for our band members to go down south and visit there. So we ended up going into a vote, and then it was voted, and it wasn't in favor. I guess I brought it in, but it didn't go through. So I understood, and I told the elders what was happening. I told them and we went to community meetings and let the people know what was happening. Anyway, we ended up things went on. We were still meeting. All of a sudden, my late friend, an elder, Jarman, ended up driving into the bingo hall. He drove right into the women's bingo hall, so the bingo hall was shut down for 3 weeks. So everybody was thinking I hired Jarman to go and shut the bingo hall down. But that's the way things work out sometimes when, I was trying to do something for the people and praying for the people, and it's funny how things work out and comes around, and things like that just happen. So I got a few other stories, but that was one that always sticks out in my mind where I was blamed for hiring Jarman to run into the bingo hall because I wanted it shut down on weeks, and so it was shut down for almost a month. But he was a really good man, that Jarman. He contributed to our church, and when he got his residential money, he contributed a lot of money to the church, and we're really grateful for that, and we'll miss him because he always had a good sense of humor. But I'd like to again thank my campaign team for helping me out during this election time, and I know that I didn't get out to knock on every door. People are wondering why I didn't go visiting and hanging up posters and stuff like that, but I had stuff I had to take care of with my family when I lost my mother-in-law and lost my sister Elaine there, so I was busy during those times. And I did go out and visit and have coffee with people, talk to people and hear their concerns, and it was good. It was a good turnout during the elections, and it was overwhelming with the numbers that Tammy got. I'm really proud of Tammy with the numbers she got as a chief, and I texted her the other day. It was really it was a good, clear statement that went out to the band members of who they want and who they believe in, and that's really good. Just like to thank her for her. She supported me too during my election, just because she knew that I was going through a tough time during this election, so it was really good. And one of the things I did was really funny during the election was going on social media. I never went on social media before, and Jerry, like you said, that's the area to go to, but I always stayed away from that. So anyway, my daughters convinced me to go on social media, and I said, well, I don't want to go on social media. I never do that. Well, time to do it, that's what they said, because you only got 2 more weeks left to campaign, so you got to get reach to people. I said, well, the people know me. I said, and they said, no, you got to get on. So I said, well, I just don't want to post things. I said, I know how social media works, and I said, well, let's make videos. So I ended up making some videos, and I like to thank my producer and my director, my wife Sally, for standing beside. Oh, she was getting me mad sometimes, but hurry up, we got to go to bingo. So, sitting there and trying to have a straight face and speak to the camera and let the people know what was happening. It was, but I love her for that. That's what she's there for. She supported me. I'd like to thank my niece Joanne too, who stood beside me here during the campaign time and tough times. And I know that, like I said, it was a tough campaign and a lot of negative things going around, and it was family and people that believe in you that make you strong during those times. And it's really, it's really overwhelming with all the people that came out and all the people that stood up and I guess let their voices be heard, and also by letting their voices be heard by voting in the people that they wanted in there. That's the main thing. And Tammy, like Tammy mentioned before, it's good that the people came out and voted and let the people know what they wanted in their communities, and respected communities, not just La Ronge, but Stanley, Grammalis Bay, Little Red, and Suck River, and Hall Lake. And just while I'm on that topic, I'd like to thank all newly elected councillors like Norman. I seen Norman there probably a month and a half ago, and he was talking about running for council, and I kind of gave him a push towards that way and convinced him to run, and I'm really glad he ran, because I know he is a good man, and I've known him all my life, Norman, so it's good I'm really glad you're in there. And with my colleagues that that didn't get re-elected, they were a really good bunch to work with. Bernice and McKeever, Larry, Leon, and Lawrence, and I'm forgetting Charlene and Irwin. Yeah, forgetting my colleagues in La Ronge here, but just like to thank them for all the hard work and commitment they had to our band members this last term. And I know Irwin's been there for about 11 years now, so he's been around for quite a while. And yeah, I talked to him before about running, and I told him, you served your country proud, you served your band members proud, and there's nothing to feel bad about if you don't get in. And he encouraged me all the time, Irwin, and that's one thing that I'd like to acknowledge Irwin about, that he always gave me support and always encouraged me, and some of the stuff that because he's seen the day-to-day work that was being done, and sometimes stuff in council meetings where we weren't being listened to from the provincial government or the federal government, where they would just turn a blind eye when we'd be trying to advocate for the band. And he knew that we're always trying to do the right thing for our band members when it came to politics, and I guess taking our concerns to the provincial and federal government, whatever agencies we have to work with or work against with. Again, thank you again, Naskmitnal. Thank you for everybody for coming out and supporting us. Thank you all the elders, all the council of elders that sat with us this past 3 years, and I'm looking forward to working with all the new councillors and re-elected councillors, and we'll continue to work hard for you, and we'll be your voice when we have to be your voice, and we'll be standing there strong for you. We've got a really good team here. I get to see it just by today, that hearing the people speak today, I know that we're going to have a really good, strong team to work with here during the next 3 years. That's all I'd like to say, and just again, thank you to my campaign team. Thank you to my wife and all my children who supported me, and all the people that voted in Ronge. I know their concerns were heard, and we'll try and answer as much as we can and do as much as we can, because we've seen a lot of the concerns that are out there during this term, during this campaign term that we had here this last month. So if I didn't go and knock on your doors, I'm sorry. I just was busy, and I've tried to get out as much as I can to visit the people, and I just ran out of time. I just, like everybody, an elder told me before, family always comes first, and that's what I was doing the first 2 weeks. So I just like to thank you all. God bless you all.